Okay, great. Okay, so once again, thank you guys for being a part. We're just gonna have a conversation, talk about some stuff. You can, I mean, I picked you guys because I know that you guys are open and honest and transparent about the pathways that you've went through in order to get to where you guys are now, which is very very successful places. You know, we're gonna even get more successful sooner or later. I know, but I mean, I'm just excited just to talk with you guys. And so, what we're gonna do is we'll just start with the first topic. So, um, I would like for anybody, we'll maybe go like 2 minutes a piece for everybody or so, but let's talk about the idea of peer pressure. So in college, there is a ton of peer pressure that happens to a lot of our college students that they are quickly introduced to without even knowing. So my question would be, how did peer pressure affect you guys when you guys were in college, and what ways did you work to kind of get out of that realm or that system or that feeling?
I feel like I'm still being pressured by peers. I don't think I'm out of it. I don't think I'm out of it. I don't think you'll ever be out of it. I think, like, as our pastor has says, PJ mentioned, like, you'll get too old to do some of the stuff. You just look ridiculous. But in college specifically, it was helpful to have people who were like-minded. You know what I mean? Who were kind of on the same page as me. So therefore, we did different stuff. I still was pressured by them to do what they were doing, but it was like more acceptable. It was more godly. It was less of like the overt or extreme. I mean, I guess I'll say extreme, quote unquote, my air quotes. But yeah, I'm still influenced by peers. It's less and less because I'm getting older, but it's still there.
Word.
Yeah.
I feel like I came to college and I thought I had like a extremely sure sense of self. Like I was never sheltered where I felt like, oh, I'm gonna, they're gonna invite me out and I'm gonna go out because I never got to go out, or I'm gonna, these people are gonna have such an effect on me. I never thought that. And then I came to college and I was just like Joel said, like you just hang out with people and then you end up doing what they're doing because y'all are hanging out. And then, you adapt certain habits and things based off of who you hang around. I feel like it's not, you can't really help it sometimes unless you're like constantly in your mind going over like, is this something I would want to do? And nobody really does that. So I would think that it is hard to say that like you can't combat peer pressure, but like how Joel said, you kind of just have to surround yourself around peers who will pressure you to do the right thing instead of the wrong thing. And that just depends on your values and what you think is right or wrong. So if you don't think it's wrong to go out and party and get drunk and not remember your night, you're not going to have a sense of like, I don't feel right doing this, but there's always that conviction. So like I had a conviction, like, this is not who I am. This is not who I want to be. This is not the direction that I want to go in. And I feel like that's where it comes into like, am I being pressured to do something that I don't want to do, as opposed to just me hanging out with my friends.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Bless God. I don't think I was ever really pressured because I was around y'all and y'all weren't doing nothing. So yeah, I mean, besides like going to a couple frat parties, I didn't really do anything else. Like legit, I was with y'all, so we were doing
right. Yeah.
I think I was more pressured. I don't know if you'll segue into this, Brian, but I think I was more pressured when I got into a relationship toward the end of my college career. So like I was pressured into smoking weed and like other things. I don't know how graphic you want to get today, but I know it's just
Hey, it's real. It's
okay.
It's real rap. He said.
Y'all want me to open the box.
real talk.
Right.
Y'all.
Pressure into like smoking weed and like doing like sexual things, but other than that, like that was really it. Yeah, I wasn't really pressured into too much. Like I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew what I didn't want to do. Like I was never a drinker or a smoker. Like that was never in me. Even in high school, like I was always at the crib, or I would go out. But so yeah, I feel like peer pressure happened more when I got in a relationship because I wanted to belong and I wanted to be with someone like so badly because I didn't value myself. I didn't have self-worth. So I think the biggest thing with peer pressure, if you're in a relationship or not, is do you know your self-worth? Do you have a sense of value to yourself? And that's when you can figure out like what decision you're going to make based off of how you view yourself and how you treat yourself.
I hear dropping jewels. I love it.
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think opposite of what Jasmine was saying, like I had a very sheltered life. And so I kind of lost my mind when I got to college because it was just like a whole nother world. Okay, I grew up in, well, first of all, I'm adopted. I was adopted as an infant by, I'm biracial. I was raised by 2 white people in a very white town, in a very conservative town. And so as crazy as it sounds, IUP was like the most diverse place I've ever been. Okay? So I lost my mind. I got there and I was like, oh, everything to the wind is about to go down. Yeah, it's all happening right now. So yeah. I don't know if I felt peer pressure. I just feel like I felt like a crazy sense of freedom, which I think can also go bad if you don't have any, like Maya was saying, sense of self. What do you value? Who are you? What kind of person do you want to be? I think because I didn't have any of that really prior to coming to college, I think that was like a time of exploration for me to figure out, like, do I want to be the party girl who's like giving wallies all the time, or do I want to be like, what kind of person do I want to be? Is this who I want to be? And so I think, I'm sure there was elements of peer pressure in that, but I think it was also just like you said, not knowing myself.
Man, that's so funny. I was just thinking like when you just said like Wallies and stuff. I remember like for me when I first came up here for what is it, Cusp, like that first week.
Oh yeah, during the summer.
And I remember I was hanging out with these guys from Harrisburg, and they went to this old club that's not even there anymore. No, it was called Tequila.
Oh, they brought that back.
It's
not there no more.
Like some sweat bar.
Oh,
okay. I thought that was done forever.
No, it's back. I heard some things in the grapevine.
No, but I went there, and I it was just, I felt so uncomfortable. The women were aggressive, and I felt I felt like I felt like I was getting like just manhandled by other women. It just felt so uncomfortable, but it was because of the fact that I wanted to fit in with a group of people that I don't know. But if I don't hang out with them, then I'm really not going to know anybody. It's like, so it's either I submit to their way or I'm out of luck. It's kind of how I felt.
I feel that.
And then it just carried on.
I'm thinking like, who sets the standard for peer pressure? Like, who's the one that says we're gonna do this? And then
that's true.
And why didn't I feel the need to be that person? Like, why couldn't I have been the person that said, we're going to open our Bibles and we're going to read?
Amen.
Why did I feel like I had to ascribe or assimilate to this culture as if I'm the only one that hasn't been here before? Like, we're all freshmen. So, like, I don't know. Am I insecure? Like, and I never had a problem making friends. Like, I feel like I have a pretty outgoing personality. Right. I don't know what it was that caused me to feel like I have to, like, fit in with this group of people or do this or do that at that certain time. Like, I don't know. It's a crazy thing.
You know, that's good. I think for me, like I was kind of like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. So like I knew people that like went to Victory like my freshman year, but then also I was like, but I really want to have fun too. So like I remember probably like fall my freshman year, literally going to church drunk.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like just hungover and just looking at PJ. Like, what's going on?
Mm.
So, yeah.
I remember
I didn't do that, but I did used to go to Bible study and then get ready to go out after.
Yes.
It was the night before. Saturday was crazy.
it was
It's true, but I didn't have the chutzpah to go with the hungover. I would just
there.
skip church. Okay.
No,
I
I
get 1
remember.
foot in, 1 foot out. I was just like, well, I got all these like older guys, like you know what I mean, like the Donovans.
Oh, you felt pressure from that.
Yeah. Like they were like, hey man, like you should come. I'm like, okay. And then my best friend like was churchy, like. So I'm like, okay. Still drunk though, but okay.
So you actually felt peer pressure from church folks.
Mm-hmm.
It can go either way.
can go
I
either
mean,
way.
for real,
Absolutely.
if I think it comes down to like you guys, I guess the main theme is just knowing yourself and who you want to be and what you actually want to do, and not necessarily what's right and what's wrong. It's just who am I and what do I want to do, and learning how to say no. Like that's a big thing for me because I don't say no, but I'm like I feel like I have to say yes. If you invite me, like if I say no, I'm rude or something. And I think also, sorry, I don't know if you're going here, but
You're fine.
my sense of like wanting to please people and people see me as like this like good giving
Yes.
person all the time. I'm perfect,
Yes.
I'm there for everyone, and I'm never gonna like let nobody down. I'm not imperfect. I'm just this yes woman, and I'm here, and that's it. And it causes a lot of issues in your life. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess my next question would be relationships. I think due to, at least for myself, I know due to not having a great foundation entering into college, it messed me up, and I fell on my face constantly because of the fact that I was chasing after an image that was not me, and because of the fact that I did not know who I was, I just went for anything. And so for relationships, we have like a lot of young girls and stuff that come to our house, for counseling and talk to Jasmine and stuff like that, that always want to, feel like they have to have a man, or they feel lonely, or they feel like there's a standard, or for guys, we have to, hang out or get with the baddest girl that's, in the whatever group. When it comes to relationships, how did you fare with that, as well as how did you grow from, I guess, your mistakes with it?
Don't all go at once.
Right.
Well, this is a tough one because I feel like there is a lot of
Are you talking about
us.
intimate relationships or platonic
All of them.
I was gonna say, like, will we
Intimate relationships.
Well, I'll start. Okay, so
It is.
I feel like, again, when I think about where I grew up, how I grew up, growing up, I really thought I was ugly. Like I really thought it just hit and just terrible. Okay, and then I got to college, and all of a sudden, all these guys are like,
Yes, that's exactly what happened.
And I'm like, for real, me. And so then I'm like, I feel like Brian, but I'm just like, anyone will do. Okay,
Yeah.
come on, So I feel like I didn't have any standard.
Will do.
I feel like I didn't have any standard for like any prerequisites. It's just like, okay, you're cute, check. You know, that was really it. So,
Right.
So I think that was something that I struggled with, and I did feel like pressure to have someone. I think that especially within the church dynamic, sometimes there can be like pressure to have a partner because I don't know why, but I feel like it just brings so much attention on singleness and loneliness, and I just remember feeling really alone and feeling like I needed. So prior to church, I was just kind of out here reckless, and then when I got saved, then I felt really alone and like I needed a partner. Because I think that unfortunately the narrative that we hear in churches a lot is like, you're incomplete if you're single, or like the highest aspiration is marriage. And so I think that like I dealt with feeling a lot of pressure to find a like a life partner as soon as I got saved, you know. So yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know what it was. It was just like, and the thing is, a good majority of everybody was single, so it was just like everybody. The only married couples were really like PJ and Miss AL and
Right.
Dr. Briscoe and everybody. So, but it was just like, we gotta be with somebody. I don't know. It was really weird. And then I think for me, it just go back to that sense of self-worth type of thing. Like like you were saying, like feeling that incomplete part, like you need somebody to validate you, you need someone to tell you that you look good, you need someone to tell you like all these different things that you should have been told yourself. But again, it goes back to the foundation, like Bryant was saying, like what were your parents like? Were your parents there? You know, it's important. Was your dad there? Was your mom there? Like those things play into why you made the choices you did, especially in relationships. So yeah, I agree with what she said.
My mom used to say a quote. I mean, she didn't. I don't think she coined the phrase, but she will always say it, and she kind of lives by it. Like, look deep before you leap. And she always put it, I guess, in context of relationships. And I think about it now. It's more true for me because I'm older now. But when I was younger, it was just like I was just trying to talk to any and everybody. Because as Hannah was saying, they were available to talk to, right? It was like, okay, you're expressing interest, whatever like that. There's a lot of options out there. Without knowing their childhood, their upbringing, their traumas, their struggles, their identity issues, all the baggage, right? And I'm just over here, let's talk, let's fool around, let's, whatever, just making these connections, these really intimate connections. So I think I look back on it, it was really foolish just to kind of like make those decisions without looking deep into like their background. I mean, a lot of assumptions I made, like these people were 18 and I'm acting like they 35 and they 18 and emotional maturity 12 years old, you know what I mean? So it's like I was making a lot of really adult decisions with people who were like, chronologically, right, 18, 19, whatever, 20, but emotionally, spiritually, were babies. And I was expecting all this stuff out of them, and it was just unrealistic, I think.
Do you guys?
Joel's saying he's been grown. He's been grown.
No, I was right with them.
I've been grown. I've been grown.
I was right with them. We were both babies trying to play this adult game. Right, basically.
Indeed.
Right.
Okay. Indeed.
Do you guys think that church relationships are harder than non-church relationships?
Yep.
I feel like they are.
Yeah. So can I be honest? Like I feel like I feel like they are the same. I think we hide things more in the church.
Yeah.
Like I mean, I was in a church still having sex.
Sure was.
Like I had sex a lot before I got married. So why didn't we talk about that? Like
Be open, honest, and transparent.
No, but I think the issue with church relationships is that that makes it sometimes feel more difficult is there's so much expectation.
Yes.
And there's a lot of performance, okay? There's a lot of performance happening in church of like, who can be the most saved and sold out person in the church? And nobody's being authentic, And so, and in that, it creates shame and people have to hide. So like, if we're having sex before we get married, we're not going to tell anybody.
Right.
Oh, heck no. That's just going to be our little secret, okay? And then when we get married, it's neither here nor there, all right? So
Exactly.
Yeah.
So true.
No,
I agree.
I feel like they're harder because we're here. If I think back on myself as a 17-year-old coming into college, I knew nothing about life. You couldn't have told me that at the time because I was about to be 18 in November, so I was grown, as Brett said, right? I was an adult. But you couldn't have told me that, but I knew nothing about life. I would still ask my mom for money, here and there for deposits, PNC. I still owe them money, by the way. But so it's like I was still, so I knew nothing about life. And so I was still, basically my point is I was still trying to find out how to be a man and 17 and an adult and work out the worldly idea of relationships and what that was. And then you layer that on with spirituality, right? And being a Christian saved person. I don't know what that world is like. I feel like it just compounded the issue. And I mean, especially as y'all reporting to the Matthews, with no authenticity in the church, I'm just walking around blind. You know what I mean? I'm all this guilt and shame I'm walking with, not knowing how to conduct my life as a saved man. How do I tell my pastor or loved one or my leader that I'm, engaging in whatever it is and being, have that correction if I feel that there's this huge stigma, right, going to be attached to it. So it was a lot of confusion. I feel like being a Christian at that time, probably not so much more now, but at that time it was, and also trying to have a relationship, romantic relationship, was 10 times harder. It was like nobody was talking, having these conversations.
Yeah.
I feel like my worldly relationships didn't have, I don't want to put myself like that, but they didn't have standards. So like to fornicate, like, okay, that wasn't anything. Like I wasn't convicted by that. Or like anger, patience, like, yeah, like you can have your worldly relationship and like communication is key, you gotta be patient with your partner or whatever. But it really wasn't that deep, I guess. And I feel like when I got into a relationship after I got saved, it was like those things played a more important role. And so it was more so holding myself accountable to the lifestyle that I was expected to live, or that I did want to live it for myself, but I feel like I didn't have that level of that standard on my relationship before, where God was holding me accountable or whatever. And then also the issue of trying to be what people expect you to be in the church, especially since we were like in the front of the church and people are constantly like, you're the example, like I want to be like you, and then you don't want to let them down because I have this people pleasing nature. So it's like, well, they can't know that I'm like imperfect or that I fornicated or that I like don't talk right or that I might hit Brian time to time, that's probably not something that we should disclose, like, so I feel like there was just this immense amount of pressure that you put on yourself, but that the church puts on you also, especially when they know you're in a relationship. And people say there's an avenue to, and like, I want you to be open and honest with me, but then there's the judgment that comes with that. And of course you're going to have those people that are looking at you like, well, so-and-so didn't fornicate in their relationship before they got married, or, that's not what you're supposed to do, or you shouldn't talk to him like that, or you should be like this. And I don't know if it's the same for males, but I feel like for females, it's like, they want you to be a wife before you're a wife. And it's like, you got to be wife material and you got to be this person. And I always tell people, like, for me, they're always like First Lady Jasmine. And I don't see myself as a First Lady. Like, I'm not like, you're gonna get Jasmine, period. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just like, if it's not always sanctified and if it's not always like by the Bible, I know that's probably not how people seem or deem to be a first lady. But I just believe, honestly, for me, in relationships, period, I think the best example you can be is honest. And that just gives people the opportunity to, you know, come to you and ask about things, and you can work through things together. And if you, same in your relationship too, like being honest with one another, just transparency all around. I think that's just missing.
Yeah.
It is.
And it's easier to do that in a worldly relationship because people don't expect that. It's like, well, they don't know Christ, so they can fornicate. Or they
Right.
know Christ, so they don't have that standard. And so I do feel like Christian relationships, I don't think it has to be a burden like it is, but I think it is.
No, yeah, it is. Yeah, like it's just the transparency and just feeling like you're just not. Yeah, it just felt like all eyes were on you, and then the people, everyone is not transparent. So then other people that aren't transparent are trying to check you on your stuff, but it's like, well, wait, you be messing up too. So it's just a lot of like back and forth stuff like that. So like relationships, like it was like church relationships were difficult because there was a fake standard you had to meet. You couldn't be yourself, and like Jasmine said, you had to be a wife before you were a wife. And not to say that I believe that, you know, you prepare, of course you can prepare before you get married, things like that, whether you're a husband
Yeah.
or wife. But like, for me, like I was trying to do wife things before I was married. You know what I mean? Like different things like that. I think like females do a lot of that stuff. It's like, girl, why you doing his laundry? He grown man.
Okay.
Or he not grown, but he a boy. He need to do his laundry, you know, or whatever. But to showcase like, hey, I can do this. I'm a wife, blah, 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 you know? And it's just like, cut the crap.
And I think too that space for transparency leads a lot of people to get into, let's say, like marriages that are troubled. I don't want to say troubled, but like if you never are open and honest with your
Troubled.
issues,
Say it.
It's trouble.
Horrible. Train wreck.
That's a nice word, okay?
That's trouble.
if you're going in with this issue of lust and you're not able to be open and honest and transparent and be delivered prior to, or communication or whatever your struggle is, you enter your marriage. Okay, marriage is hard, period. Okay,
Yes.
period. But then to add on the stuff that you couldn't get delivered from because you felt like you had to keep it a secret, then that just creates more generational curses, stuff that people can't get delivered from. And it's just an ongoing thing. I feel like if we had the space, which we do, I mean, it just takes somebody being bold. Like, look, this is who I am. Again, with the peer pressure thing, like, this is what I'm dealing with. This is what I'm struggling with. You're going to judge me, but I'm going to get my deliverance and I'm going to get whole and I'm going to be in my relationship. Like, it is what it is. But it takes that faith or that, you know, lack of fear or lack of not being afraid to be judged or whatever to do that. And people don't. It's not the culture of every church.
Yeah. I think also something that's, I mean, maybe worth pointing out is like at Victory, at least when I was there, you know, we're all young, we're all babies, and we're all just pretending to be grown, okay?
Right.
And there are the people that are grown there's a huge like generation gap in between us and them. So like we're not sitting down to have real talk conversations with them.
Mm-hmm.
So the oldest person in the church is a senior. So they're out here, you know, pretending to be grown and they don't know what they're doing either. So I think the dynamic of a young church like Victory too can be difficult because there isn't maybe that kind of like
middle ground.
I feel like maybe that's what you guys are.
That's what the Penders are now.
Yep.
That's Joel. Yes, yeah.
Of just like maybe more of like a model of what it looks like to be figured, like, because I think that's the hardest thing is I think that like you guys were talking about how women have to be wise before they're married. It's like how do you learn to do something you've never done? Like we need people to tell us, like to show us, to teach us how to do it. Like we just don't know, especially if you haven't had the model, which a lot of us, you know, don't necessarily have, you know, the role models that we need. So,
and it's a different time. Like social media plays a role. Like there's a lot of things that, you know, generations prior to did not have inflicting in their relationships. So it's just hard all around. It just is.
Word.
You could always thought and bop. I don't recommend it. but
Don't recommend it.
Thought and Bob.
Thought and Bob.
That's hilarious.
They're done that.
Well, I think you guys hit on two different topics that, I mean, of course, I want to talk about briefly. Let's talk real quick about the importance about having a home church away from home. For me, of course, I was raised in church. But when I came to IUP, the idea of church was a bit different. I think because before, and I've said this before, when I was in Philly, I kind of just treated it like a business. I treated it like a job, played the drums, got a check, kept on going. And then when I came to Victory, I learned more about having a relationship with God. And that's what church is more about than getting your name on an envelope so that you can pay your tithes and offerings, stuff like that. So for you all, how was your experience coming into college of your spiritualness and like entering out? Like, how beneficial is it for somebody to have spiritual covering, especially while they're in college?
Yeah. So I'll kind of talk about like my experience prior to college. So I kind of like similar to Brian, like I was in and out of church, right? So I went to a Pentecostal church when I was in Philly, but then I didn't go to church for several years, and then I came back. So I knew about religion, but I didn't know Christ. Like I didn't know God for myself. So I pretty much faked church for years when I was in like growing up, and then I just didn't really care for a while, to be honest. It was just kind of like it was just kind of like it was just kind of like habit. Brian, you said a really good thing saying it was kind of like a job. That's kind of how I looked at church too. It was like, okay, this is something we do on Sundays. This is like, okay, this is what we do. Right. But I didn't know, I didn't experience, I didn't feel God really, and really want to build a relationship with him until Victory.
Yeah.
I mean, Victory was like the foundation for my faith, to be honest. And that's something that I think should be definitely talked about, like, finding Christ, especially in college, and then finding it and kind of understanding and, seeing how you were in your past and then saying, okay, why are these people, like, what do they have? Like, why are they so like joyful? Like, what is this God guy? Who, let me see what he's about. I like that.
Yeah.
So that was kind of at least my feeling. It was like, okay, I'm not feeling good, but I'm not feeling bad, but I kind of want what that is. Like, I don't know what that is really, but I want to experience that. And that's like at least my experience.
I feel like it's just an impressionable time. It's the time where you're not forced by your parents to do what you've been doing your whole life. Like, we have to go to church Sunday, which, I mean, I did. I was in the choir, and every third Sunday it was youth choir, and it was Bible study on Wednesdays, and then you had Sunday school in between both services, and then you had dinner afterwards, and you had whatever meetings on Mondays, and there was something else on a Wednesday. Like, that was just the life you did, and you didn't really have a say because I said so, and you the child and I'm the adult, and that's what we gonna do. So it makes it, like when you go to college, the Bible says train up a child in the way they should go and they won't depart from it. And so it makes it easier. It's either one or two ways. You either continue in that ritual or you just be like, YOLO, I don't got nobody waking me up. But there's that part of it. And then there's that part where I feel like college ministry is very important because you have these adults, young adults, who are in their prime of making decisions on their own and becoming mature adults ready to go into the world on their own. And it's just, I think it's an important ministry to have, just because if I didn't have it, I don't necessarily know that as an adult I would be saved. Like, you know what I mean? So I feel like I would have lived my whole life in that routine that I did at Salem Baptist Church. Not to say that the church wasn't feeding people. I just didn't get what I needed there at the time because of everything else, like just being forced to do everything. And so the fact that I had people like me, my age group, who were making decisions on their own to go, it was a fun atmosphere. I enjoyed it. For me, like Brett, it was like the start of my actual faith journey and knowing Christ for myself. And I don't think that, I mean, still I go to Victory, but I feel like I could move anywhere else and still this would be a priority to me because I have a relationship with Christ now. So I feel like it was fundamental for me to have that covering at that time, because first of all, it was crazy and the Lord had to be looking out for me. But secondly, I just, for now that I'm seeing, I have 2 kids, and it's like, I want to continue that and show them what I learned at Victory so that they can see it. And I'm gonna force them to go to church. That's just what they're going to do. But, you know, hopefully the same, I can impart that desire as opposed to like forcing like I was, you know what I mean?
I think it's just critical for it was critical for my development. Like just, I mean, it was my covering throughout, you know, Pampers, throughout high school, up to high school, and seeing it in college, like my first time going to Victory, I saw someone in my age group worshiping God, and that made it personal. That made it, like Hannah mentioned, like the model. Like I didn't have a model in my home church I went to church in Philly. Like if someone my age worshiping God, I didn't have anything like that. You know what I mean? Like, so God was so foreign, it was like for old people to do. I came to Victory, and it was like there's someone my age worshiping God, submitting to God. That made like Christianity attractive, right? I took my cues from them. So it was like, yo, I gotta get into more of this God thing. And I joined BOJ, became more deeper, and et cetera. So it was critical for my development for sure. And that kind of laid the groundwork for me today to continue it.
I think for me, I didn't start really going to church on my own until I got to Victory. I didn't grow up in church, so I didn't really start going until I was 16, 17. That's when I got saved. And then when I came to IUP, I was like, ooh, I need a church. Like literally the first week, like I came, it was like, I think I met y'all.
Was in it the minute.
Day one, Maya.
Right.
I was like, I need to go somewhere. So I think I met y'all, and then the next day I came. I think something like that.
Yeah, I remember.
And then yes, and then yeah, I never left. So, but I think it helped shaped me, and it definitely shaped my relationship with Christ for sure. Like there are a lot of fundamental things, like even songs, like just even the songs we sang on the choir, like have stayed with me this whole till now. And it's just like that has been impactful for me as well, like just knowing certain songs and just being able to worship through that. But I think it's extremely essential for a person who's in college to get in a church so that they can be grounded and they can start their journey in becoming a whole person, and your identity comes from Christ. So this is the time where you're trying to figure out who you are. So it's vitally important to get in the right church that is, preaches the word, from the actual Bible, and they just have good godly counsel. But yeah, it's essential, vital. It's totally necessary for someone who is in college, like all the way through.
Yeah, I agree. I think for me, different. Like I did grow up in church again, but again, I grew up with really white church, so it was like, and like reading the book, so I like church. I never felt connected. Like I went always, but I never felt connected to it. I always just felt like it really wasn't for me. So I really did it when I went to school. I was like, okay, I don't have to go anymore, so I'm not gonna go anymore. And then it was IUP day, and I heard BOJ singing in the quad, and I was like, oh, hold up, I want to do the choir. So I like walked up to somebody, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna join the choir. So I joined the choir, and then all of a sudden I felt all this peer pressure from the people in the choir to go. They were like, you should come to Victory, you should come to Victory, and I was like, yeah, all right, maybe I'll come, you know. So
I'll slide through.
I came, and it was like similar to like what Joel was saying of seeing young people like actually committed to worshiping and submitting themselves under God, and also like my life was in shambles. So seeing people who were like seem to have a little bit more, you know, control. And I mean, even though, yes, we talked about how people in church are sometimes pretending, I still feel like when I was not saved, I really felt like life was happening to me. I felt like I didn't have any control over like, I just had no boundaries. So it was just like, whatever happened, if the wind blew one way, that's the way I was going. So I feel like
That's where it goes.
I feel like it was so like, it seemed like, I think what I admired was self-control. I saw people that had self-control, and I wanted that. And so I started like hanging around some more people from church, and then I heard like the gospel of Jesus Christ of like, you know, you can be saved, and it made sense to me. It made sense to me based on my personal, you know, life journey. And I was like, okay, I do need a savior. And so that's how I got saved. So I agree with Brett that victory is the foundation of my faith. And then also like victory gave me a community I never had. Like I never had people that looked like me in my life.
Yeah, true that. Well,
So
you know,
the fact that I was now like immersed in a Black community, and they were all like, you're a part of this and you belong here. I think it's another thing about church is like there's a sense of belonging and a sense of like encouragement. And so I think that, and also I think the church is like a unique, there's a lot of different versions of Black people in the church. It's not all one kind of Black person. So there was room for me, the weird one who, you know,
be there.
I know, like I can be there and I belong there. And, you know, there are, you know, yeah. So I just felt like not only was it the foundation of my faith, but it was a very core piece of like my identity development that I needed. So yeah.
that's good.
I definitely feel like I soaked up, I think Joel said it, a lot more of life going to church than I have when I was in Philly. I don't know if that was just because of the fact that I lived on my own when I was in college, so that I make my own path and I make my own decisions and stuff like that, compared to Philly, where it's everybody, mom, sister, everybody get back into the car after church, all that stuff like that. You kind of have a covering of your parents. But I know for sure, good, bad, and ugly, I'm happy that I found a home church, because if not, I feel like I would still be going crazy.
I might be dead actually.
I might be dead as well. Like, I don't know.
ain't gonna put it past me.
Or I might have 5 daughters compared to 2. Like, I don't
God
know.
is real.
Like I just feel like a lot more inconsistency of my life would have happened if I wasn't surrounded by people that were my same age, but then older people as well that can sit me down and say, "Dog, you're bugging," and go from there. Like, you know, I say it all the time. PJ sat me down 3 times when I was in ministry, and part of me didn't understand. I didn't understand it at first. You know, I thought that he was just.
Or at second.
Huh?
I said you didn't understand it at first or at second.
Or at second, or at
the 3.
I didn't understand it at all. Like, why is this man putting me back on and then taking me back off? But seeing it, he was trying to protect me from destroying myself, like killing myself, going down even further of a worse hole than I could have gone down. And so, I mean, though, yeah, it is a lot of pressure. And I mean, of course, I feel like people mean well when they try to present pressure onto you, so that you don't, so that it's almost like you try to tell somebody don't do drugs because I did drugs, but your delivery might not be the right way, And so I feel like oftentimes there might have been people that might have said it the wrong way in a sense, or I'm just prideful and I just didn't understand it. And I would just like, get away from me because, you don't understand. But, I feel like it was very important that I found victory. Like I'm fortunate, I'm blessed that I found victory, and of course I'm still there, because I would have went straight left field. Of course I don't think I would have. I know I would not be where I am today if it wasn't for a home church.
Agreed.
It pains me because I see a lot of people who battle with coming in and out of church because of which I'm going to enter into now, the college life. I feel like a lot of us have this image of what college is. I don't know if it comes from, watching A Different World on TV or watching College Hill on BET.
That's the one.
College
Hill.
Like, I was not watching any of that.
Like
That's exactly where
I don't know. Like I don't know if it's whatever movie or whatever TV show or whatever other people are saying. Like when you go here, you get to do this, do that, and because of the fact that we never seen it before, we're like, oh my God, I gotta experience this. But college life, I feel like it's either one way or another. Basically, you either, I wouldn't say do it correctly. I don't think anybody can do college life correctly. But you either make the right decisions that will help you out, or you'll
the right decision.
Yeah,
either think of church in your college life, or you think of
not even just church, but just decisions in general. Like I said, I feel like when I went to college, or when I thought about going to college, my friends that I was with talked about girls. And then when I came to college, I think I said in a sermon one time, I said I felt like Steve Urkel and I saw a bunch of Lauras all around, because it was just like, I was so mesmerized, like, oh my God, it's like all of these girls around here. And it's just weird. So
It's
anyway,
not weird. I think I felt the same way about men.
this is why we're
Listen.
This is why we're siblings.
I was like, holy crap.
This is why we're siblings. But so I want to get your thoughts on, I guess, the idea of college life. Like, should we be hyping up college life the way it should be hyped up, or like how can we help the ones who are in college now and those who are getting ready to go to college? How can we help them out to prepare them for what is about to come, and how to prevent them from falling on their face due to temptation right off the bat?
So that's good. And I'm gonna probably concede to Joel, but I think it's just a developmental issue. Like I remember getting a lot of game, like a lot of wisdom before going to college. Like I had a mentor who took me on college tours, gave me a ton of game, like do's and don'ts. Then I got to college and didn't remember any of that, like zero. So I think I would like, I don't know, it's hard. Like I would love to like, try to share like all my wisdom to someone like, similar, about to go to college or in college. But I think also there are some developmental issues. Like, are they going to truly understand and want to apply it? Because I know I did. Like, I heard it and it went out. That was it.
Word.
So I think the only thing you can do is really just be an encouragement. Be there for them. I think, like, at least about my story, like, made some like wrong choices and stuff like that in college. But, I did have some elders who, even though I fell a lot, I like Bryant, like I remember gatekeeper, and PJ was like, nah, nope, you're done.
Like, oh, okay.
Like,
I was like,
done
like
twice.
here or something. Like, what do you want me to do?
yeah, like but then, having, older men in the church, and then some elders, Elder Tony saying like, it's going to be okay. Like, you're making some bad decisions now and, you'll learn from this and grow from this. So what are we going to do to prevent that? Like he was encouraging more than more than condemning. So I think that's the biggest jewel that I'm definitely I would definitely give is instead of condemning what you do at that age, to the youth, give them some encouragement, saying, hey, listen, we're gonna make some mistakes. But the mistakes you do make, if you want somebody just to hear you out, if you want some advice, I'm here for you. And then check up on them too.
Yeah.
Random checks is cool.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I think for those who are in college now, I think it would be a matter of just saying, just chill. Like it's not like for those who are like, maybe they're sophomores and they're still like doing all this random crap. It's just like it's not that deep because and even to people that are even to freshmen that are just entering in, like I think the whole college life kind of stigma came in like through the 80s, like in those like different movies and things like that, like Back to the Future and different things like that or whatever. So they made like this huge thing like get drunk and do this and da 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 da, and it's just like cool, but then you get to finals and you don't know nothing. So it's like so I think it's really just like, hey, yes, this is a time for you to explore, a time for you to get to know yourself, get to know other people, your time away from your parents, so you can figure out like, do I agree with their values? Do I agree with their morals and such and such and such? You're learning to be an adult, because then when you come out of college, like it's not the same thing. Like you have to take care of yourself fully. Like in college, there's still a schedule. Like you still have things to do. Like in high school, you went it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. So you really don't know how organized you are or how messed up you are until you get to until you graduate, until you're like, oh, I have to get this job. Oh, I have to move out of my parents' house, all those things. So I believe, like Brett was saying, like you have to truly begin to develop as an independent person and figure out yourself at a deeper level than just joining a bunch of, random organizations and clubs. Like, yeah, you can do that. But at the same time, it's like, who are you? When all this is over, when you close the door, when you go to sleep at night, like who are you? So that self-awareness needs to be implemented at a higher level when it comes to somebody entering into college and someone that's in their college years. Like no one cares. No one's gonna care how many kegs you drank overnight. No one cares about that.
It's true.
It's true.
No one cares. So it's like at the end of the day, what decisions are you going to make for yourself that are going to benefit yourself when you come out of this thing 4 or 5 years later?
Yeah. I wonder, do you guys think it's more, how do I want to say this? Do you guys think it's better to explore what college life is about? Or do you think it's better to just not do it? And what am I trying to say? And kind of have that feeling always in your back pocket, like, man, I should have explored to see what's up. Mm. Am I making sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think it's better not to try at all. Don't do it. I'm just
yes, like limits. There are levels. Don't go.
But I think that that's more of a personality thing, Brian, because I think that you and I are the people that are like, see, if it's the fear of missing out thing. So it's like, so I feel like not everyone is gonna feel that, oh, I really regret I didn't do that, I didn't explore that. I think for someone like me, because of the life that I lived, I needed that minute in my life to just be crazy. And then I realized that that life was not all that it was cracked up to be. And I realized I wanted some happy medium in between, you know, super sheltered and, you know, nipple to the wind. So I just feel like, you know, it depends, I think, on the personality as far as that question goes. But to answer the question about college life, I think that a lot of, like, I agree with Maya that there is a lot of, like, societal portrayals of college life and, like, partying and binge drinking, and also I think with where we went to school, like, it's known for partying. Like, it's really not known for,
I usually party.
right? You know, especially
Awful.
especially when we're talking about the undergraduate, you know, part. So it's like, I think I agree with what Maya was saying of, like, figuring out what your passions are, what your goals are, and trying to be intentional about, like, how are you going to use, because college is such a wonderful opportunity for, like, all of these resources that you have access to, and these people and these professionals and all these relationships that you can build. And I didn't realize that until I was, like, a junior, and I was able to, like, benefit from that. But man, if I was a freshman and I was doing that, come on. So, like, I think if you can go in with a sense of clarity of, like, who you want to be and what you want to accomplish, it'll be a lot, like, easier to stay focused and maybe avoid some of those temptations. Yeah.
I'm just always curious because I've met people who came in guns blazing, and then by the time that they were close to graduating, then wanted to revert back to a moderate, calm, I need to find Jesus before I graduate, like, demeanor. And then I've met people who come in with I was raised in church, you know, type of thing, but you can always tell through conversation that they want to venture off into the deep end of the pool. Just so that they can say, I lived the college life. And
the deep end in the Lord.
Yep, that's what they're talking about.
That too.
Preach your wife joke.
I do think that.
You know, like, I don't know, like, I feel like there's those two different types of groups.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
I feel like it is necessary, like, if you have, I think it's important. I think that we all talk about how we all were able to find faith for ourselves. And I think that if you're going into college, because you've always gone to church, now you're still kind of, like, riding on the coattails of your parents' faith. If you haven't had, like, an opportunity to, like, make the decision for yourself of, like, this is really what I want to do, then maybe that's why there's still that lingering of, like, I haven't tried everything, and so I don't really know if this is the choice that I want to make. So I don't know if I'm saying, like, go do some crazy stuff. Don't do that, but, like, you know, figure out who you are and what you want to do, not what you feel like people want you to do, not what you feel like you're supposed to do, but, like, when you look at yourself in the mirror, like, what do you want to think about the person that you are?
Absolutely. I feel like God can meet you anywhere. Yeah, I mean, I can off of what Hannah was saying. Like, God can meet you anywhere. He can meet you in a strip club. He can meet you, not telling you should go to the strip club.
No.
But
Right.
He can really, if he wants you, he met Jonah in the whale. You know what I mean? He got to him and he prepared the whale for him. You know what I mean? So it was like, I mean, if he wants you, he's gonna get your attention. And I feel like he can do it anywhere, anytime, any place. So it's like, you know, I think of the scripture, like, everything is lawful, but not everything's expedient. So you can do everything you want to do, but it's not necessarily going to expedite you or put you in a position to be, you know, used by God, or to, you know, for, I guess, God's perfect will, right? Versus his permissive will. Yeah. I mean, so, like, it's not going to really let God's perfect will manifest in your life if you don't if you don't do what it is that God wants you to do. So God can meet you anywhere. But there's just certain things that you just off top just know you probably shouldn't dabble into, because it's going to lend you up in a different space.
David and Saul, man, that's perfect. Like, look at that story, right? Like,
I'm
that's phenomenal. I completely agree with that.
crazier than you know.
Oh,
It's like, I'm kidding.
okay.
I feel like college is gonna be what you make it, just like life. I feel like it's hard. I mean, I didn't change my major so many times. I did not know what I wanted to be. I did not know what I was supposed to be. I still sometimes don't know what I'm supposed to be. It's like, and then there's all this stimuli just trying to. It's overwhelming
Yeah.
to be like in this phase of I'm an adult. I got to make decisions for myself. I got to decide who I want to be, what I want to do, and you know, you go through your process. Each person has their own individual process. So for me to tell you what your process is supposed to look like, it may not look like mine. It might not be while out for 1.5 years, get saved, and then turn your life around. It might be I come in saved and I'm leaving saved, and I gained a quality education and I furthered my life in Christ. It might be I go for 4 years wilding out, get saved in the last 20 minutes of my college life, and go on and do great things. Like, you can't, I mean, everybody has their, they might have the seed planted here by somebody and never had been to church, but then 20 years down the road, you know, become something in the church, like, or had your major, like Mark, he was a music teacher, and then his profession was a police officer, and then he was teaching like computers, you know what I mean? So everybody has their process. I don't think that there is necessarily an advice that you could give to everyone, except for just like, do your best, bro. Like, I mean, in life in general, you know what I mean? Like, I can't tell you, it depends, like Hannah said, everybody's got different personalities. Some people have that fear of missing out. Some people were like, I could care less. I'm going to the vending machine, going back to my room. I really don't want to be a part of that, you know? And so, I mean, I just say to those students who are incoming, who are in college or who are on their way out, just college is what you make it. Hannah said you have those resources. You have tons of things that you like concentrated in one area that you normally would not have access to. And, you know, people willing to do things that for you and with you that you would not normally have, like, in any other time. And this is a period in your life where you're making decisions for yourself. So just keep in mind that whatever life you want to live or whatever experience you want to have in college, then you have to make the decisions to do that. If you want it to be somewhere where you learn, then you have to make the decision to read your textbooks and actually actively learn. You know, want it to be a place where you party, then you put them boots on, sis, and you go out to Philly Street, like, you know. But at the end of the day, there's always going to be consequences to the things that we do, and there's going to be a product at the end. So when you look back on all 4 years, what do you, or 5 or 6 or 11, whatever, what do you want to have accomplished, and then do that.
All right. Well, I thank you guys for having this conversation with me.
Amen.
Yes, sir.
But I have one final question to ask you all. So if there is one thing that you could pass on to a college student that is currently in that age range of, you know, beginning college as well as in college, you know, graduate school, what would that advice be? What would be something that you would pass on to them to help them grow and not fall due to whatever situation? What is something that you would pass on?
It's not the end of the world.
I felt like that a lot of times.
Yeah. Like, I think all of us were in circumstances at some point where it was like, oh no, like, what's going to happen next? Like, this is it. Like, I'm done. Life is done. This is shot. I blew it. You know? But God was like, No.
Hmm.
Mhm.
I still love you. Still okay.
That's good advice.
Gonna be all right. The sun will come out tomorrow. I promise.
Mhm.
We'll wake up. Yeah, it's gonna be hard right now, but don't be defeated. So
I did not know where you were going with that. But that was so good, babe. Good job. When I heard the first one, I was like, not the end of the world. But I'm like, oh yeah, that thing happened in my life, and it wasn't the end of the world. Okay. For me, I would say choose the people you surround you with wisely. That you surround yourself with wisely, because I feel like we talked about with peer pressure, there can be good peer pressure. Like if people are holding you accountable, if people are, I don't know, like there's that scripture about like bad company corrupts good character. So like be mindful about people you're surrounding yourself with, and they should be people that inspire you and they have things that you aspire to have yourself. I mean, I have so many friendships from college that I cherish to this day because I picked some pretty like dope people, like, you know. And I think that is like, if I could tell anyone to do anything like that, would be, because I had made the mistake early on picking, you know, some other people. Not saying that they were bad people or anything, but like they were not good for me. So I think that, yeah, just choosing the people that you surround yourself with really wisely.
that's good.
I think for me it would just be learn to enjoy your. I know it took forever. Sorry. I was trying to see if I want to say something else. Yeah, learn to enjoy yourself and love yourself.
Mhm.
Learn to figure out what you like and what you don't like.
Mhm.
So then when you become an adult, you have to deal with the crap.
True story.
you know, not that it's bad, but it's just a lot easier when you know, when God be like dropping stuff on you. And granted, I know I'm only 26 and I'm still young, but like if I was more assured of myself and more like focused on God and focused on me, I would have been like bomb in college. But I think, yeah, just learn to enjoy yourself and love yourself.
All for that. God is love, man. If it's condemnation, it's not of God. I'll just put that out there. If it's condemnation, it's not of God, because God did not come to condemn you. I mean, Jesus is going to condemn you. He came to save you. Conviction is one thing. Condemnation is something else. It's like, you know, it's counter Brett's point. It's like the world is over. You are lost. You know what I mean? There is no hope. That's condemnation. And so I'll just tell you that if it's, you know, condemnation you're feeling or thinking, that's not of God. Get out of that. There is tomorrow.
I feel like if you don't know the Lord, this is the time. There's no time like the present. I would just encourage anybody in college now who feels a great sense of stress, or because college is stressful sometimes, like personally, socially, just, you know, getting a job, all these financially, there's just a ton of stress. And if you want to relieve that burden, I've got a friend named Jesus, you know, and he's a good friend. But no, honestly, like if to be honest, like for all people in college, I think that it was a great and most excellent time to learn who God is, and what he has done for you, what he can do for you. If you don't know him, I would encourage somebody that ask about him during this time. And if you do know him, I would encourage you to grow in your faith so that you can be that person. When somebody asks about Jesus, you can be the answer. So that would be my advice.
Oh, I should say one too. I would say it's hard. You should have went last if you're going to say Jesus, because that should have been a good closer.
You can still talk about Jesus. Ain't nothing wrong.
We'll talk about Jesus. Of course, find Jesus.
Yeah.
I would also say connect yourself with the right bunch or the right person. Huh?
Who said that?
Who said that?
Hannah said
Hannah
that.
said that.
Well, I agree with Hannah.
Right?
Like I think having a mentor, I think that is really key. I know probably when I came to school, there was for every African American person. I don't know, Jill. Do you remember that when you came to school, there was like some African American group that everybody was designated a mentor. I can't remember who.
I must have missed that sign up sheet.
Oh, okay.
I wish I had an African American
It
designated.
must have been my
mentor.
year. Yeah, like
Maybe, yeah.
it must be like there was this African American group. I don't know what it was, but they
Cusp. No, I don't know.
It was
were doing cusp.
Cusp.
But they assigned you.
Cuss.
They assigned you with another minority that was either male or female,
I
depending on
think
what
it
gender
was
it was.
cuss. I
It
really
probably
It
was
was cuss.
cuss.
No,
It sounded like Cusp.
it was.
And if it was, they skipped me because I didn't get that. I didn't get that.
It was during cusp, but it had to. It was like something else.
I definitely didn't get
Like-
that.
like-
You're the only one who got that, Brian. So
It was. It must have been my year. It wasn't just during cusp. It could have been. But anywho, mentor. I think finding yourself a good mentor. I think we mentioned it before about like for us, at times there seemed like there was a gap between our generation and another generation that we felt like we couldn't connect to. And
Yeah.
so it was like we were trying to find the next closest that might have been mature but still immature in the same sense. But I think it's very important for any young person to finding a mentor that is going to help them to grow. And I think it is also okay that your mentor grows as well. I mean, they should be growing as well. But you being able to see them struggle, but also know that they have your best interest at heart. That's kind of
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
how I felt. All right. Well, I thank you guys for hanging out with us. for hanging out with me.
Yay!
This was fun.
Yeah, so good to see everybody.
Yeah. All right. Well, we shall do this again another day.
For Sheezy.
Yeah.
Right.
Easy. All right. Well, I'll see you guys later.
Adios.
Okay.
Bye.
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 Bye, Natalie.
I know.
Bye, Natalie.
In this video.
Good night.